Hey, good morning, and welcome to the Good Eats Guy channel. Today I'm making some pancakes. So I was watching YouTube yesterday, and I was watching a chef, YouTube chef, who has a producer. I don't have a producer, who was making some Michelin style pancakes, claiming and promising never dry, fluffy. And when he started making them, he started whipping his egg whites into a soft peak and then into a harder peak to build his pancakes. And sure enough, that's exactly the same way that I make my pancakes. And with a little bit of difference. I still actually use a pancake mix too, but I had always struggled with making pancakes that weren't dry after cooking them. Always really good right off the oven, but too dry if you let them sit too long. And butter is not the way to fix that. So first things first, I'm doing this by myself, so I literally are going to have one hand to be able to do things. So I'm not going to be using a whisk to make my peaked eggs. I'm going to be using a beater, electric beater, but you're welcome to use a whisk if you wish. But I'll be beating those into compliance with a Hamilton Beach uh, uh, beater here. So that's exactly what I'm going to be using to do that with. But first things first, though, let's go ahead and let's at least look the part. So I've got my handy chef jacket here that we'll just put over our already other jacket I'm wearing, which looks a little bit weird to be wearing two jackets, I know. But let's go ahead and get this chef jacket on here, and that way I look legit for making a YouTube video talking about cooking. I don't have a chef hat. Maybe I'll get one in the future if I end up getting a lot of traffic to my site. I'm not sure if YouTube will actually even push this out to anybody's feed, so we'll just go ahead and try. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to run this. Now, this isn't done. This isn't even close to being done. It's just frothy at this point. But one thing I did want to just mention real quick. Yesterday in the video, they used some lemon juice in this, and I've never used lemon juice. I do have some in the refrigerator outside, and we could try some of that in there. But I'm not going to do it because I know I can make these into a nice meringue style stiff peak without it. So I'm not going to be using lemon juice. This is only two egg whites, and of course I've separated the eggs here. And so let's go ahead and continue. So we're trying to get this into a nice soft heat. And I'm only making a few pancakes this morning, 6 total, so this won't need to be that much. You're gonna make more than about 6 pancakes, you'll wanna use, 3 egg whites, about, an egg white per 2 to 3 pancakes. So the whole idea here is just to get air into the actual pancake for the fluffiness part. And And that's really all I'm doing for this part of it. The other part is going to be getting in that moisture component, and I think you'll be pretty surprised on what I'm going to use to do that with. But it works. It doesn't add any weird flavors to it at all, and so that'll be a big surprise for anybody who chooses to stick around and wait. I think you're going to be pretty shocked at what I end up using. Now, yesterday when I was watching the Michelin chef, which I'm assuming their credentials are good, they actually put the yolks back in, and I'm going to go ahead and do that today for the first time. So I don't know what that tastes like because I haven't done it. Normally, I don't put those in. You're welcome to put them in or not put them in. I can tell you that the recipe works without it. So right now, so far, just for the pancake recipe, all I have is two egg whites, and they're beat to a medium or soft peak now. And I'm going to add just a little bit of sugar, and for just a little bit of sugar, and not a lot. And I'm going to whip that back in. And then just to make sure I can keep the structure and the stuff, I'm going to add a little bit of cornstarch um, into my egg whites. And for that, I'm just going to grab probably about just a little bit of about a third of a tablespoon and push that right in there. A little bit more than that, actually. I'm going to go ahead and whip this up into a 50 now. And I don't want to overdo that and start knocking them down. So that is pretty much where I'm going to leave those. And that should pretty much do it for this part of it. I'm done with the sugar as well. And as I mentioned, I am going to be using a mix as well for my pancakes, which is what I've always done actually. So let's go ahead and just go grab that mix real quick. Let's show you what that is. It's super easy to use. It's just made by Crustos, Crusto. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'll show it to you here in just a second. But this is what I'm going to be using just as my base mix for it as well. And I'm going to be making the 6 to 14 pancakes, which makes not anywhere near that amount for the size I make. It's going to make 6 pancakes total. And I'm going to, instead of using water, I'm going to use milk in it as well. So go ahead and just grab a measuring cup and let's get that measured out. And this doesn't need to be super close. And actually, I'm going to add the eggs back in before I do that. I haven't put eggs in before these yolks in, but I'm going to go ahead and get those put in before I do that. So let me just mix those up. I'm just going to fold those back in. Sure, it'd be a lot better if I could hold this pan, but I can't and hold the phone. So maybe one of these days, if I get over 100 subscribers, I will be able to actually have somebody to help me with stuff. Maybe. You never know. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there. And then I'm going to put in second cup. It says 2 cups. I'm just going to fold that in. And I'm not going to use a whisk to fold this in because that whisk will end up hanging on to too much stuff. But let's go ahead and get my liquid in here as well. Looks like I'm going to need 1 1/3 cups of milk. And so actually I started using some Fairlife milk, which I really like. It has less sugar in it, and it also has less calories and more protein. So, not saying this makes it healthy for making pancakes, but it definitely makes it better. And so, I really like the flavor of Fairlife. It's also lactose free. So, if you are looking for a nice, healthier milk, lactose free, Fairlife is what it is. It is quite a bit more expensive than just regular milk, but it is very much a great way to increase a little bit of your healthiness of your pancakes. So let's do one more third of milk. Of course, you can just use water as well. I just like using the milk. I think it tastes better. And see if we can get the rest of these eggs in as well. Yeah. And if I could use both hands, I would actually grab that spatula that I have sitting there and get the rest of those eggs out, but I don't really need them in there. I just don't like using everything. So I'm actually going to hold on to the bowl while I'm doing this. I don't know if I can, no, I can't make this any smaller. Oop, yeah. I'm just going to fold that in. And you don't want to overmix your pancakes. That will absolutely cause them to be more dense and not as good. Now, I've told you that there's something else that you are going to be surprised. So if you did stick around and you are able to watch this, um, I will uh, I will just tell you that thank you for saying you love my videos. I really appreciate it. I really do. The If you have stuck around long enough, though, you're going to see what that secret ingredient is that I put in. And I promise you, this does not add any flavor to it at all. And hopefully, I won't forget to put in some vanilla too. I'm a big fan of vanilla. I love vanilla. I love the way it tastes. And so I don't know if you are kind of a cook like me or not, but I started cooking when I was very young. My mom started teaching me how to cook when I was about 7. And one of the things that is kind of one of the cool things about cooking when you're that young, and I have a really strong sense of smell, and also I can taste flavors as I'm putting them in of what it's going to end up tasting like. So I'm not measuring this out at all, and I'm sorry about that. It's literally just a little bit of the cap full of vanilla, and I'm just going to pour that in so you can see how much I put in. It's just enough to give it barely a hint of flavor of that vanilla. And that way, if you have somebody who's adverse to the vanilla, it's not really that big of a deal because it's not that much. And but it tastes really, really good. So I will then add in what I said I was going to do, which is the um, ingredient that most people wouldn't think about. So a lot of times people will use buttermilk in their pancakes. I've seen sour cream in their pancakes. One thing I've never really seen though is what I'm about to do. And I started this a few with a little spoon here. So I started this a few weeks ago, as I said, and the results were really, really good. It adds a lot of nice structure to the pancake, and then also gives it a moistness that really you can't do without. I would imagine that cream cheese might even be similar to this as well, but cream cheese is a little bit thicker, and so the key here is some ricotta, and it's just about that much. And I'm just gonna put that right in, and I'm gonna fold that in as well. And normally I would, in fact I am, I'm gonna use both hands for this, so you're not gonna get to see me do this. I'm actually gonna get that extra ricotta off the spoon because I don't wanna not put it all in. And then I'm just going to fold that in. Again, not really trying to get too much in there. And that's pretty much it for this batter. It is done. And so, just to kind of go over the list of the ingredients again for anybody who's started in a little bit late, it's whipped egg whites, so to a froth, or I'm sorry, to a stiff peak for those, with a little bit of sugar and a little bit of cornstarch to hold that structure in place. Then it's going to be just 2 cups of the Crustos buttermilk pancakes, and then you're going to add in instead of water, you're going to use milk, and I use the Fairlife milk for that. And then you're just going to mix that in so it's not anything that is too much for that, and and then you're just going to cook them like you normally would. Now, I use a oil and butter base to do that, and I think you can just use butter only. That's fine, but the I like to add a little bit of oil to my butter to keep it from burning as quickly, and I found that works well for me. But you can just use a nonstick pan, and a nonstick pan is nice enough. You don't have to put anything in it at all. I like using it. I think it's nice to use that butter oil mixture, and it gives the edge of the pan a nice crispy texture. So I'm just getting out a different pan. I'm going to use a square pan instead, not a griddle. And it gives it a nice texture. So we're going to heat that up. And one of the things that I like to do is make sure my pan is hot enough. And And so if you try to do it before that, the pancake has to cook too long, and then the pancake becomes dry because it cooked too long. So the cooking is really important as well, and you're going to want to just make sure that when you're cooking your pancake, you cook it at the right temperature. So this fire is going to be a little too high, and I love to cook with gas rather than with electric. If you've and the reason for that likely is because I've cooked with gas my entire life. So I know those temperatures pretty well just by looking at them in the pan that's underneath. But you may find that you're actually better at cooking electrically. So whatever you do to be able to control that heat and you do it well is great. But find out what that heat is. I never ran a temperature sensor on this. I'm sure there is a perfect temp to cook stuff at, and you can probably find that either just by asking one of those generative AIs or watching some other YouTube channels for that. But I definitely am not a an expert on temps as far as what they are. I do everything by look, sight, and then just by my experience cooking. But I can guarantee you these pancakes, you can tell just the batter turned out perfect, and they're going to be fantastic. I just want to get this butter and everything good. And we're going to use a regular spatula for that. Spatula going here. And just so you know, I didn't really stage anything for this. So you're literally going through this just the way I would normally um, cook here. And so I apologize that everything's not super polished for this presentation. And I'm just going to go ahead and get that going. And if you get a little bit of brown butter, don't worry about it. It's not going to taste bad. Um, you absolutely can do that. And while I don't like creating a bunch of extra dirty stuff, I do like using a spoon for this next one. And this is the spoon I like to use for it. I have actually one that works just great. This is about the size of pancake I want when this is almost full. So I like to grab just the right amount of batter, and that's about it right there. So hopefully this is the right heat. It looks like it's probably been long enough, and I'm going to put a pancake there, and I'm going to put another one right next to it as well. And then as soon as we get done with the first two, that'll much be it. I don't have any special toppings, anything I use. I know different people like different things that they like to put on their pancakes. Um, I prefer real maple syrup and butter, but some people like log cabin. Other people like other types of those fake syrups. And I'm not here to hate on anything. Eat what you like. The If you like those things, those are good. The the Michelin chef yesterday they made some black butter. They poured it into their syrup, their maple syrup, and then they also added in some soy sauce into it. And I'm actually going to try that today because I've never had that before. And I want to see if it tastes good, but I am not going to show that process during this live. We're going to end this live as soon as these pancakes are finished. And what we're looking for here is a not too fast and not too slow cooking time. And we're looking for the edges to start to look like they're cooked, and then also some structure to these other sides here. And so once I get finished with these pancakes, I'll put them on it's going to be a plate, and I will also just get them on a plate, and then I'll also go ahead and cut them so you can see what they look like on the inside. Um, as far, I guess I could try one too, just so you can see a bite of them being taken or something. But anyway, other than that, that's good to go. So let's go ahead and finish up with the cooking here. Probably have another minute or two before we flip, and then a minute or two before we finish up the video. Um, Oh, you had to go to school. All right. Well, Amy, I really appreciate you being with me the entire time of my video today. I really do appreciate you being here. This is a small channel for me. I have another channel under Barger Watch where I make watches. But this morning I was going to make some pancakes, and I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and put it on YouTube Live and see if anybody wants to watch me make pancakes. So this is what I'm kind of looking for right before I flip. You can see that I'm getting a lot of nice fluffiness on here and also getting some structure to the pancake. And if I wait too long, the other side of the pancake is going to end up being burned. So I don't want to wait too long, but at the same time, I don't want to not wait long enough. And so I think this is probably good. They feel pretty good when I'm hitting them here. And so I'm just going to go in and grab them. And then the flip on these, if you get them wrong, the flip can actually cause your pancake to be into the other pancake, which you can see I almost did there. But this is pretty much a perfect pancake, what you want to get. And because I know that one's perfect, I know this other one's going to be perfect. And they don't have to be on the other side anywhere near as long. I just grabbed some of that butter oil mixture, and these really turned out fantastic. And what I love to do is just grab a little bit of butter while they're sitting here on the hot griddle and just hitting them with that as well. And you can choose to do that or not, depending on your liking of the butter. I've never had anybody complain about having too much butter on their pancake. But if you have somebody who is adverse to having a lot of butter, maybe not something you'd want to add. So that is pretty much, these are going to be done. I'm going to grab the syrup that I love to use, which is a real maple syrup. And there's not much left, as you can see. So I'm going to just use a little bit on one of these bites so y'all can see me have some of it. And that'll be that. In fact, I'm going to have to use two hands to take off that. So let me just set that up real quick. And let's grab that open. And now that's ready to go. So these are ready to be taken off. And you can tell just by flipping them that they're good to go there. And so that's going to be one pancake. And again, you can see that the other side's done. You don't have to flip them like that. And then two pancakes. And some people like to put butter in between their pancakes because that butter does melt really well. But I'm not going to do that for these. And then we'll go ahead and just go ahead and get some syrup on here. I like to heat up my syrup normally, but these are super hot pancakes, so they'll heat up the syrup just fine. And you can put more pancake syrup on. I'm not a judger. I do need to grab a fork though, so if you don't mind coming with me to do that. And um, as I said, you can kind of look at these on the inside here and just see the structure of them. They're really fluffy and they're going to be fantastic. Now, I would be happy to eat a big bite like that, but I'm not Mr. Beard and I am not going to be able to eat that big old bite and actually be able to still talk when it's done. So we'll just have a little bite here. And they did. They turned out fantastic. Those are really good. Of course, they're right off the grill, which they should be really good right off the grill. They have that crunch that I said I like on the edge. And anyway, to me, those are perfect pancakes. I've only been able to make them for a couple of weeks when I found out just by adding a little bit of what I believe is the key to keeping them moist ricotta cheese. And just smooth it in a little bit. It's just a little bit of that, and those egg whites. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the live today. Really do appreciate you hanging around and watching. And I hope everybody has a fabulous weekend. Thank you so much for watching.